This story is quite a sad one, if you will. Well, I mean, sad by concept. It's more just there. As in today's video, I'm going to show you the location of a corpse of an escaped slave who died during his bid for freedom, which in my mind is kind of what makes it so sad. So buckle up, because in today's video we're going to be finding the corpse of Elijah, the escaped slave. Apologies if my voice sounds a little wonky, I do have a cough. Anyways, let's dive straight into this one. This location is just a bit southeast of Braithwaite Manor and just a bit southwest of Shady Bell, which places it away south of Rhodes. So this point here is where you're going to want to be heading. When you get close, there will be a corpse marker on the map. And sure enough, on the riverbed is the body of what appears to be a slave, still in shackles, with that weird neck thing, and scar tissue all the way down his back, seemingly from whippings. It's obvious this guy's body has been here for quite some time because it is fairly decomposed. Why his body here or how he died is quite unclear, but it would seem as if, considering there are no specific open injuries, he likely died of either a medical problem, such as starvation, or dehydration, or from an internal injury, and considering his placement just down on the riverbank below a 5 to 6 foot drop, it's entirely possible that he lost his footing and fell, and that's how he died. You're probably wondering how that's possible. It's only 5 to 6 feet. Well, you see this thing around his neck. If he fell and landed straight onto that, it wouldn't so much break his fall as break his neck, which could have very easily killed him instantly, or on the other hand, it could have paralyzed him. Either way, he would have died. But anyways, that's just a theory as to how our new friend here died. But anyways, you can actually loot this guy's corpse, and he has a letter on him. The letter is titled Letter to Uncle Lewis from Elijah. The letter reads as follows: September 6th, 1861. Dear Uncle Lewis, I will keep this brief because I am on the run once again. After escaping the switch and whip of the Pennington family, I was captured by a white man outside the town of Rhodes, and have spent the last 3 months or so in the worst conditions of my life. He took me to a shack called Old Harry Fenn in southern Lemoyne, where I was chained to a wall night and day in a filthy room with only the barest minimum of subsistence. Now you can actually visit Old Harry Fenn in the game, but more on that in a moment. Let's just say this guy didn't get very far. But for now, let's continue reading the letter. I ain't sure if he was a slave catcher by trade or just plain evil or both, but if I hadn't escaped my shackles, I doubt I would have survived much longer. Now I intend to make my way as safely as possible up to Canada to join you and cousin Samuel. Nice work on that one, mate. I imagine it will take me a few weeks, but I am determined to remain free, and I am very much looking forward to continuing my schooling with you. I intend to stow away on a train heading north, and will post this letter when I reach the next town. Best, Elijah. Unfortunately for Elijah, it was not a happy ending. So why don't we head over to the house where Elijah escaped from. Upon entering the house, on your first left, you will find a room which has shackles in it. This must be where Elijah was shackled up. Bit of a miserable, grimy place. You can actually inspect the floorboard here and find a family photo. The photo appears to be the family of one poor individual who found themselves in this shack. Could these people be relatives of Elijah? Though he wrote a letter to his uncle and mentioned his cousin, but did not mention having a wife or a son. Unless they're his parents, and he's the boy in the photo. Which in my mind would just add to the tragedy that is already Elijah's story. But anyways, why don't we progress further into this miserable shithole? In the main living chamber of this house, you can find a newspaper scrap, which is a cutout article that reads, $200 reward. Ran away from the subscriber on the night of August 17th. A word I won't say, man who calls himself Curtis Royal. He is stoutly made, about 27 years of age and 5 feet and 9 inches in height. He wears his hair combed, and upon his body are several old marks of the whip. His countenance is rather sullen, and when spoken to, he answers quickly. I will give a reward of $200 for the apprehension and return of said boy to the Rhodes Jail or my property at Shady Bell, Scarlet Meadows, in the state of Lemoyne. Joseph Charlesworth, April 28th, 1859. So it appears as if this is not mentioning Elijah, this is in fact a different escaped slave that the slave catcher had his sights on. But at least it confirms Elijah's theory that this guy was indeed a slave catcher. Whoever this slave catcher was is still unknown, but considering the state of the house, it's probably safe to assume that he's been gone for quite some time. Now, I'd imagine that this slave catcher is probably either very old or dead, which regardless of which it was, he would be far away from here anyways, considering that slavery was abolished in the United States 1865, not many years after the death of Elijah, which means that out of a job, the slave catcher would have had to turn to somewhere else to find a source of income. But if Elijah's letter is to be believed, then had he stayed in shackles here, he wouldn't have survived much longer, which makes me think that this slave catcher had his own agenda and actually was quite sadistic, and did this for the joy of doing it rather than the reward. Unfortunately for Elijah, he did not live to see the end of slavery, and never truly had his freedom, as he died on the run from the sadistic slave catcher. And considering the slave catcher's seemingly sadistic tendencies, I wouldn't be surprised if, even after the abolishment of slavery, he still found a way to inflict pain on others. Fortunately, it's been the best part of half a century since the slave catcher was known to be active, so I think it'll be a safe assumption that he's either dead or at least too old to hurt anyone else. Though there is one slave catcher that we actually do meet in Red Dead Redemption 2, though I don't believe it's the same guy. It is worth mentioning that Jeremiah Compton was a slave catcher by trade at one point in his life and was very proud of his work. However, this guy's base of operation was definitely not Old Harry Fenn, so I believe this slave catcher in question was a different person entirely. But anyways, that concludes today's video on Elijah, the escaped slave, and the slave catcher. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff, and be sure to let me know what you think down in the comment section. Is there anything that I've missed? Is there any identity to this slave catcher out there? Please go ahead and tell me about it, and I'll see you all very soon with another video at some point.